For me, I feel boundary is it's like a moving gate. You know, like you have like you people that have a home. There's like your backyard gate that's always opening and closing, right? I feel boundary needs to be like that. It needs to be something that can be closed and can be opened also. It can't be just like a brick wall that you can't move, like that's permanent. Because that one also is unhealthy. Because there's a lot of people that like just create these boundaries that they'll never even have a relationship with other people because they make it like so rigid that it cannot, nobody can get through them. They just get stuck to their own like feelings that nobody else can tell them anything else. So boundary for me, I think it needs to be fluid. That you can close it sometimes, and then if things people are doing okay with you, you can open it sometimes and just be able to like open it and close it when needed.
Yeah, I would say boundaries is just protecting your space, basically. So if you had for like a spiritual kind of line that doesn't need to be crossed, it's not something that people can see. But I think it's also kind to tell people once you know what your boundary is, to let them know what your boundary is. And like you said, like it might be different for different people. Depending on, people tell you all the time with their actions at what point you can let them in your life. So it can be fluid, but there should be definite lines people can't cross.
So also with everything that we've talked about, like identity and loving yourself, identity is knowing who you are, like we learned, and then loving yourself is being able to build those walls where you need them, or like have that gate closed where it needs to be closed and open when it needs to be open. It's protecting yourself. The Bible tells us that you need to protect your heart because everything flows from it. Your whole life flows from it. And we see it with relationships, with just our identity, knowing ourselves. We can mess ourselves up a lot because we don't understand who we are and we're not setting those boundaries. We can really take our life on a really separate path. But once we do understand who we are and we know and we love ourselves, first of all, we love ourselves enough to be like, okay, this person shouldn't be in my life, and so I'm not going to allow it. That's what I feel like boundaries are, and loving yourself as well, which also, again, protects your mental health. When you love yourself and you set those boundaries, you're giving yourself the peace that you need.
I feel like boundaries sometimes, when somebody says that they have boundaries that you shouldn't cross, a lot of people tend to think that as if, you're trying to be mean or you're trying to be disrespectful, but basically all you're trying to do is just protecting your peace, and I feel like that's really important to be setting those boundaries up, not only to protect yourself, but to also protect others, because if you don't put those boundaries in place, then those people are okay to just walking in and out of your life, doing whatever they want to do to your life, and that's not okay.
And I think that as we talk about boundaries, if you find like you don't really understand what we're talking about, it's maybe because you haven't placed boundaries on yourself, or you've been put in situations where you do something because a friend tells you to do it, but at the end you end up feeling sour, feeling emptiness. And that's not what you have realized was a boundary, but we're here to kind of like show you guys, these are boundaries. When you feel uncomfortable, uncomfortableness is not always terrible, but like if it's like uncomfortable, it just sits in your stomach and just drags you down, that's a boundary. And you need to set it with your friends and your family.
When you say boundaries, it's like a limit for other people not to get in your life. If you let other people get in your life, you're gonna feel uncomfortable with yourself and all everything around yourself. So that's why people place boundaries as a relationship, friends, family, and every part of his day-to-day life.
I feel like a lot of time, like people our age are scared to set boundaries because they're scared about what other people are gonna think. But if people aren't gonna respect your boundaries that you placed, right? Are they supposed to be in your life? And you just need to really think about that if they don't respect it, that's not the person that's supposed to be in your life. And it's not gonna really matter at the end of the day if they're in your life or not because they didn't respect your boundary, right?